Oh yeah, ain't no woman like the one I got. Gotta love that soul music. I mean, got to. It's just fantastic. I don't know about you, but I like R&B. Yeah, just you know, smorgasbord. The music. So welcome everybody. How you doing on this hump day? So good to see everyone. Speaking favor over us all. Going to that place of nothing missing, nothing broken. So good to see everyone. How is everybody in the chat room? I was looking in there earlier. Some always great conversation. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Goddess, good to see you as well. And Deborah and Nina, how are you doing, my dear? Rick, what's up? Mark, what's up? Good to see you as well. Amy, hello. Jackie. Oh, flight risk. Always good to have you. Stephen, good to see you, buddy. So, lost in space. Yeah, Bosto. Be of service to others. Hey, I was meditating, out there thinking about, this group, Rage Against the Machine. Thank you. Thank you. Is it Mick? Good to see you. Melissa and Robert V in the house. Good to see you, Mr. Floyd, Troy, John Price. Go from Croatia. Good to see you. So, only for a while. I like that. Ain't that true about all of us? I mean, no doubt about it. Right back at you, Robert V. Thank you, brother. Dave, good to see you. Linda Espinoza, good to see you. Emperor Rex. So, I'm thinking, you know, we're kind of like a little enclave. We're just a small group. We meet most days at this time and come together and we share and, we unify in thought and discussion and, it's diverse, beautiful, loving atmosphere. And it occurred to me, we have the opportunity, 11/11/23, World Peace and Unity Podcast Day. I love that. Mary Wins, thank you for sending that. I think that's what it is. It's World Peace and Unity Podcast Day. I mean, podcasting is all it is. If you have a profile on LinkedIn, I mean, there's companies out there that hire people who do podcast. And if you're good at it, you can make a lot of money at it. That was not the purpose intent for this channel, but you can anyway. And you think about it, if every podcaster around the world would just dedicate their podcast to World Peace and Unity Day, I mean, far fucking out. That's all I can say. I mean, that's the kind of stuff it could spark a whole new revolution. All I'm saying. I think it'd be pretty damn cool myself. Well, hell, even the Duke would look at this and says, way to go, cowboy. That's showing them. No shit, So I'm dating myself, but, I always think about Rawhide, that was a good one. Clint Eastwood, check that out. There was just some pretty good ones back in the days. I digress. But that's what we do here. Hey, Claudette, good to see you. Joyce, what's up? Good to see you. Mary Wins. Anyway, William, what's up? Good. Yeah, it's a good thought. That's what it is. And I believe that this thought's going to, it's going to propagate. It's going to grow. And I think that it's one of those grassroots, It starts somewhere. So let it start here and let it spread. Let's make the world aware of it. Never know. It's that 1% factor. You just can't be completely sure because, at least in this realm, I was doing some cooking earlier that's really where you really get into magic. I mean, you want to talk about alchemy at the highest level. And anyway, I had this strangest thought. It came to me. It was almost like in the form of a audible voice. And this is what I heard. It says, so, Wayne, what are you expecting in the afterlife? I'll just put it to this group here. Deborah, darling, Robert V, buddy. So what are you two specifically expecting when you die or get born again, however your position is, on the next realm? Hey, DC, good to see you. So, and I you two just volunteered. As Robert said, he's good at that. So what would be y'all's answer to the group in the chat room? I'd be curious to see that. What are you expecting? My response as I'm sitting there chopping up things and I'm going, well, good question. You're going, hey, Brandon, good to see you. Bonnie, hello, Paul, Joe. So then I began to think, well, I'm assuming that there are principles, laws. I'm assuming. Lady Ellie, how are you doing? Much favor to you, darling. John, what's up, buddy? So B says, I expect me again. That's interesting. Robert says, I'm expecting something different, but much the same. Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes with it, isn't it? It's kind of like, I've created this beach and I fully expect to, I don't know, wake up, materialize, beam me down. I don't know. I mean, we've discussed this. Why should we be afraid of our death when we weren't afraid of being born? Maybe we were afraid of being born. As I talked to the ladies, and what a show yesterday. Trina and Jenny, wow. That was one of those shows that was like, holy crap. You have to go back and watch that thing twice. Susie Q, it's good to see you. Lady Hoppet, good to see you. Preacher told me we spend all of our time praising. Yeah, I remember that gig. Yeah. And when you think about it, you're going, oh, wait a minute. I mean, okay, you got the throne thing and, praising. No, Why does God need worshipers? I mean, if a God needs worship, then there's one too many egos in the room there. So I'm going to pick up my marbles and I'm walking out the door. Anyway, truly, I digress. But getting back to what we expect. And it's a good point that, wow, in the height of my Christianity, I thought that there was this thing. I mean, I really did. I think that there was this thing of pearly gates, and there's nowhere that has any foundation. And I truly thought that I would be in this white robe and pair of sandals, and they got guards, and you got the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I got the ticket. Welcome to your eternity. You will find peace here no matter what. You just have to follow the rules. If you break the rules, well, you don't want to see where your friends went, right? Then you go, good question. Where is my friends? They didn't make it. But go on in. It's like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. It's true. But getting back to that, I finally came to the conclusion that I expect to be me. And if I define me as a unique personality, then my consciousness has to be unique. But every person in their own right is unique. Busy place, man. Busy place. So, World Peace and Unity Podcast Day. Please pass it around. If you're on Facebook, start putting it everywhere. 11/11/23. And, let's make it happen. Let's let the world know that, hey, up yours with this idea of freaking War III. Humanity doesn't need another war. What it needs is peace. It needs that ability to love again. We have such capacity for love. But I often wonder, sometimes it seems hate seems to always overcompensate. And then it makes us much too late. And then we get back into the debate. It's duality, can't you see? It's never designed to unite you and me. Duality, as you know, it is designed to separate and grow. So rise above that which you know and apply that magic that you know. There we go. Yeah. You know what they say when you start speaking in the rhyme and it starts coming out every time, right on time, that's that witchcraft thing. It must be witchcraft. Little Frank Sinatra. So anyway, moving on along. I love this group. It's what it is. It's what it is. So, I got like this January 19th, 2024 is when I will be 25,000 days old. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So I found this little jewel, and I just said, I got to share this with everybody. I mean, Aaron, I did get your, and it's brother, I got about halfway through. I still have the other half to go, but yes, I got it. So thank you. Well, John, someone has to be optimistic here. I mean, that's about the only way I can see it. Just like, well, one of us have to be. So anyway, so many of you know Sanji. So Sanji, which was a gift from Brian Burnett, Milky Way, he once owned this, and Trina has the whole history. This is a powerful entity, but within itself, it's God. Yes, it's God. And since a lot of what we read here and cover is so often in the code, that's why it's a spell. But then again, I guess the Jesus dude did say, it is given unto you to understand, while the others, the masses, will be in ignorance. I don't know. That just doesn't have a warm and fuzzy feel to it. I'm just being honest with you. It's like, okay, wait a minute. This duality thing, man, I mean, so let's see. They get the Willy Wonka's golden ticket by enlightenment, understanding. When everybody outside the inner circle is just screwed, man. It's you fend for yourself. How do y'all feel about that? I don't know. I think it sucks. But, excuse me, um, there's a lot of truth to that also. Like, wow, what was the dude saying, man? So, the human skull and everything that we study, particularly in esoteric, uh, mysticism, mystery, Gnostic, Gnosis, um, is founded in this ancient language called Hebrew. There are no Hebrews today. They don't, they've died out. But yet, and this whole thing is, when you get into it, I mean, you're really in an amusement park. The thing is, those rides in this amusement park that we're about to go into, man, maybe it's so good that someone, we have a rope tied around us as we go through. So as the first people go through it, the rest of us can go, well, the rope's still tight. All right, I think we can do this. No, but seriously, I'm going to get right into it because it's a very cool document. So this is titled "The Human Skull is the House of God," and the Judeo-Christian scriptures are mathematically structured. This is written by William John Megan. So join with me as we go through here. Hey, and you feeling a little seasick? Huh? All right, Steiger, stop that shit. All right. So the Judeo-Christian scripture, the first Hebrew word inscribed into the sacred scriptures is the word, and I believe I have this right, berishith, I believe. The three middle letters in the Hebrew word berishith spells out the Hebrew letter word resh that symbolizes head/skull. And the first and last two Hebrew letters in the Hebrew word bereshith spells out the Hebrew letter word beth that symbolizes house. Therefore, that is why I translate the Hebrew word bereshith as saying the human skull is the house of God. It is quite interesting to envisage that the first two Hebrew letters, Beth and Rosh, in the sacred scripture spells out the first word of Genesis, bereshith. In the beginning is considered by all translators in antiquity and in modern times to be the correct interpretation of the Hebrew word bereshith. In this volume, I will illustrate that in the first letter of the Bible, Beth, though it is not translated as in the beginning, it does mystically symbolize the phrase in the beginning, because the first chapter of the Genesis is the commentary on the first Hebrew letter, Beth. The first Hebrew letter of the Bible is Beth, that is inundated and surrounded by another Hebrew letter called Pi, which cannot be seen, which is literally invisible for anybody to see. The first chapter of Genesis has 69 groups of 142 words held together by 80 hyphens. Pi has the gematria numerical value of 80, and Beth has the gematria value of 40 and 12, 412. Chapter 6 will illustrate that these 69 groups of words color-coded in orange. The entire chapter will be written in Hebrew and English with words with a strong exhaustive concordance, numbers over the Hebrews and English words. And here, this little commentary, this is the thing that when I broke away from the religion. If this is the case, that everything associated with so-called enlightenment is hidden, and if you don't know what you're looking for, and if you don't know what the code is, and if you don't have the primer, I mean, it's like an amoeba, holding a lightning bolt. I mean, would it know? All right, so the preamble. God made men and women in his own image. Now, this is interesting because we know that what we have read there, it's male and female. Anyway, the monad, which is number 1, is the image of God, and the Bible is inscribed with mathematical Semitic word patterns. This is the Viscus Pisces. So here's the word Shekinah. Now, I was taught that the Shekinah glory of God is the glory. It's the light. It's the power. And it's interesting. Many of you who are well versed into this is what makes it perfect in all of its words, names, etc. Everything is 9. Everything. Total's 9. You can't say, well, that's coincidence. Well, don't think so. All right. So the human skull is the house of God. The Judeo-Christian scriptures are secretly structured with esoteric mathematics. This volume was written to reveal the invisible, esoteric, nonfiction, mathematical. I mean, you're looking at this and you're going, all right, Semitic word patterns that are inscribed into the Judeo-Christian scriptures. Just in the word Judeo-Christian, it's a blending of 2 different belief systems into one. See, I don't think the Judeo aspect would need the Christian, but the Christian needs the Judeo much more. All right, these invisible mathematical patterns can be envisaged and understood when the readers, on his or her own volition, studies, analyzes, and researches the Hebrew's textual wording and the Hebrew coder, the alphabet. Then he or she will learn the spiritual messages that the invisible, esoteric, nonfiction, mathematical, Semitic word patterns are conveying. The Judeo-Christian scriptures textually wording are very stringently structured. Though every Hebrew word has its own gematria, its own numerical value, spiritually, each word symbolizes the monad, the number 1. This is because the Bible's Hebrew words are written arithmetically as monads, number 1, that are placed in alignment with the formatting of invisible, esoteric, nonfiction, mathematical, symmetrical word patterns. Another important reason that this volume was written is to illustrate how the soul's 2-part psyche, right and left, parental and temporal lobes, are of the brain, consciousness, Yahweh, and unconsciousness. Now, this is really interesting because what it is saying is that Yahweh is associated with unconsciousness. Elohim and Ryder and Jay, they did a show yesterday. Check it out. Elohim cyclically activated. The Shekinah divine presence 10 to the second power square matrix, and the Visca Pisces are also invisibly inscribed into the sacred scriptures, and they illustrate how the soul's two-part psyche is physically energized to receive spiritual knowledge. That's some deep shit right there, folks. So the two main characters that we talk about, the Elohim, Yahweh, Jehovah, the Lord, is all in this. And then I asked myself, because when I used to teach the Bible, I took a lot of pride in, having my notes. I have my strong concordance right over there and a number of others. But I realize now we're like hunting for a treasure map, and we think that we had the right copy. Turns out we didn't have the right one at all. We didn't know what we were reading, even if we thought we were breaking down the words into their original meaning. Apparently not. But the other aspect is how it talks about the soul's two-part psyche is physically energized to receive spiritual knowledge. Now, as a philosopher, I look at this and I go, okay, so it's saying as well, I have to factor in here. So what happens if you're not privileged to this? Let's just say that this has as a deep key that opens certain doors. The vast majority of the world wouldn't have no freaking idea, wouldn't care. Anyway, let's go. So the introduction, the monad is the image of God. To say that the Judeo-Christian scriptures are completely structured mathematically, of course, the average readers would not believe in such a statement. Because from the average reader's point of view, the sacred scriptures give no reason that mathematics should be inscribed into the Bible. Nonetheless, this volume will reveal the incontrovertible mathematical evidence that every Hebrew and/or Greek word in the Judeo-Christian scriptures is used to format invisible, esoteric, nonfiction, mathematical, Semitic word patterns. The monad, number one, is the image of God, and each individual become God for at least a fraction of a second when he or she cyclically enters the portal of the Viscous Pisces. Wow. It says, translated out, God, Elohim, said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. So God, Elohim, created man in his own image, and in the image of God, Elohim, created he him, male and female, created he them. And we went word for word. This is not a human being. Now, it's saying that he created man, but it's obviously, again, this whole thing is not created out of the dust of the earth or the ash, doesn't have a living soul, but yet appears to be in the likeness. Now, there's two different word plays here, image and likeness. I could paint a image of a flower from a copy, but if I paint its likeness, it's going to be almost a mirror image, depending how good you are, right? And again, the only way I read this thing is that this being, this Elohim, must be hermaphrodite. Apparently has the sexual organs. And then I'm asking myself, why does it have sexual organs at all? But I digress. Back on the road. The point here is that you, me, for at least a fraction of a second, are God. We become God. And it's not the small G-O-D, not capital G-O-D. It's all caps. G-O-D, the monad. We are God. Now, quantum, particularly what I've been reading in quantum entanglement, we could be living in a fraction of a second right now, perceiving it to be eternity. Just depends how high, how wide, and how far. But for at least a fraction of a second, when we are psychically enter the portal, there are the most bizarre biblical statements made in the sacred scriptures. If God is the monad, the number one, how could he need someone, us, and our, else to aid him to create a man and or woman into their image? Elohim, God, by himself, cannot be a monad, the number one, because he would need the other half to format the monad. This is some good shit right here. But you're not supposed to ask these type of questions. I actually had someone tell me that. Well, there are just some questions that you're not supposed to be asking. Oh, really? So we know that whoever the freak is in Genesis 2, is an imposter. This is exactly what it's saying. It's an imposter, a deceiver, the Eldaboeth. Elohim, God, actually symbolizes the formula for pi, 3.1415. Reduce each Hebrew letter that spells out the Hebrew word Elohim, and then go counterclockwise from the number 3, and the formula for pi, 3.1415, would be revealed. Yahweh, Jehovah, is what Elohim was referring to when he used the words us and our in the above statement. Yahweh symbolizes consciousness, the left parental and temporal lobes of the brain, and Elohim symbolizes unconsciousness. Wow. The right parental and temporal lobes of the brain. When these two hemispheres of the brain psyche communicate with each other, they study, analyze, and research together what they are interested in. Thus, via active imagination, praying, these two hemispheres of the brain psyche blend and intertwine together with each other, formatting the monad, the number one, which is mystically the viscous Pisces. However, the moment that the viscous Pisces is formatted, it instantly fades into non-existence, because the soul's two-part psyche receive the spiritual knowledge radiated out of the viscous Pisces. Wow. The thing that when I read this, this is like the third time going over this, is that the phrase instantly fades into non-existence. I guess if there is to be a fear of some kind, it is common to most humans just of that right there, that what is death. That the moment of our departure from these bodies, we instantly fade into non-existence. It's like, oh crap. The viscous Pisces instantly fades into non-existence because it radiated out of spiritual knowledge to the soul's two-part psyche. Thus, in order for the soul's two-part psyche to learn more about what they are interested in, they must communicate with each other via the active imagination / praying again and again and again, infinitely. Someone wrote earlier about, praising 24 hours, 24/7, whatever it is. How number one is it measuring time? When I see these terms, days, eternity, who the freak has got the timekeeper? I mean, it's not the sun. It's not the earth and the rotation and how we balance what time is. But anyway, this volume will illustrate how God, with his companion, made men and women in his own image. Thus, every man and woman is God for at least a fraction of a second throughout his or her lifespan. And here it says, Jesus Christ said, "Verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven." In the second day of creation, the firmament, the viscous Pisces, is also called heaven. Wow. As I look at these words now, I see the word converted. What in the world just happened there? Saw that camera go, what? I feel the whole screen. The whole internet seems to be a little wonky. So anyway, converted. Unless you become like a little child, you're not getting in. And I've had so many interpretations of that. So anyway, this is an interesting book. It's 172 pages. It gets into this even more, how this is where and what God is in here. Let me stop this here for a second. And let's do that. And then let's do that. And I'm back. Interesting. And I want to get into some other things, but it's very clear that this is, and it's that point where they have found the study in studying people who at the moment of their death, and they study the brain as the brain dies, that something happens inside of us. There is this part of our brain, and as I understand it, it's kind of next to the pituitary gland, but it becomes active. When the rest of the brain is dying, shutting down, the great computer, it's how, Dave, what are you doing? This area of our brain suddenly becomes very active. And it's interesting because they say we stay alive unless it's a blunt force trauma, But if you die of natural causes, which means that you probably die of a heart attack or something, I mean, that's how you're going to die. I mean, if you're not dying of a disease, you're going to die where you're going to die of a heart attack. The heart just stops. And that is when this transformative process, which I think is happening, the theories that the scientists who are studying this, that's what they think is happening. That somehow this consciousness, this computer brain, is doing a download dump into this one organ in it, and this is just my interpretation. It's like you're stepping inside the transporter of Star Trek, and it is the essence of what your temporal life is, the essence of its thoughts that's condensed, that goes into this chamber, and it literally transmutes you into a different kind of matter. Anyway, interesting. So what do y'all think? I mean, we're still getting into the shadow people, but I still find this one to be interesting. It kind of goes into this thing with when we were doing the reading in Ghostland. Actually, give me a second here. I want to see about so give me a second here. Y'all talk amongst yourself. I'm just doing this. So let me share this with everybody. I think this would be really cool. So in Ghostland, we were reading the book. I wanted to bring this out. So if you remember, there was a group of men who are purposely using other people who have psychic abilities, the abilities to tap in to what they know is to be the unseen realm. It is their research that shows that the veil is able to be broke, that you can inject your consciousness into this other realm, this other parallel dimension. And in here, we remember that the young lady was murdered. And I want to just get into this because I think this was interesting. So in this exchange that they're talking about, you can astral project yourself and not only go anywhere in the world, but you can also exist in this other realm. And in this exchange, it says, and I know we're kind of stepping into it. So the question is, how did you see that the spirit passed? And then, did you see it? And this person said, yes, I did. And how did it look? This person said, exactly like the body, only it wore an aspect of horror and appeal terrible to behold. The person said, then did the spirit stay with you? And how long? Did it obey you and act intelligently, or did it act a merely automatic part? This person said, mortals know that there is no death. I did not kill AM, whoever that person was. I only broke up the temple in which her soul dwelt. That's some deep stuff. So we just studied in the gematria, in the Hebrew, that this is where God is. This is where he enters. This is where it abides. It is God, whatever that definition is. So mortals know that there is no death. Someone sent to me, Colleen and I were going back and forth on that, how Jesus said that, Paul wrote that, how, You got to let the Spirit in, that Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, and then he will quicken your mortal soul. Now, that's real interesting, because that's implying then that mortality is merely a condition and not a permanent state. So here the person said, listen, I didn't kill the person. She couldn't handle it. I only broke up her temple in which her soul dwelt. That soul is immortal and cannot die. I found this out the moment after it had left the body. After it had left the body, for it looked upon me, spoke to me, and reproached me. O God of heaven, saints and angels, pity me. It spoke to me as intelligently, but far, far more potentially than ever it had done in earthly being. It was not dead. It could not die. It never will die. And so it told me at once, but me, miserable, when I sank down aghast and struck with the ineffable horror as the Spirit approached me into a deep swoon, I entered the land of immortal souls. There I saw many people whom I had thought dead, but who were all still living. There, too, I saw the still living and radiantly glorious soul of my old pastor, Michael H. Sternly but sorrowfully, he told me I had committed a great and irreparable crime, that all crime was unpardonable and could only be wiped out by personal and not by vicarious atonement, as he had falsely taught whilst on earth, that my only means of atonement was suffering, and that in kind or in connection with my dreadful crime, that as the poor victim would be engaged during my term of her earthly life, broken short by my act in working it out in an earthly sphere. So her magnetism actually attracted, as I had deemed, to the spot where her life had been taken, would continue to haunt me and repeat in vision the last dread act of murder until her life essence should melt away and her spirit become free to quit the earth and progress as she would do to higher spheres. Sometimes, this stern teacher informed me, I should see the real living soul of my victim, and then it would be as pitying an angel striving to help me. But still oftener I should see only the specter, and this would always appear as in the death moment, an avenging form, partly conjured up from my own memory and partly from the magnetic aura of my victim, and always taking the shape and circumstances of my dreadful crime. Mortals, there is much more to tell you of the awful realms beyond the grave and the solemn connection between life and death, but more I dare not speak. Human beings will soon learn it for themselves, for the souls of the immortals are preparing to bridge over the gulf of death, and men and spirits will yet cross and recross it. Many times ye are the blind leading the blind, deceiving yourselves with a vain philosophy and deceiving all to whom you teach it. There is no death. I must be gone. Hark, I am called. Holy crap. That's kind of that real thing going, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to define it. I mean, but you read that. Now, I can recall decades ago, a converted Jewish rabbi who became a Christian preacher. The Hebrews, the Jews, believe that there's this place. It's described in, I believe, 1 Samuel, when King Saul sought out the witch of Endor and freaked her ass out too. He wanted to conjure up Samuel, the prophet. And if you read the story, she did. And he was pissed off. Says, what, Saul, you idiot, you're the fool. You're going to die today. You're going to be where I'm at. You could have had a very long life. And, according to the story, it's a place that not even God goes to, apparently. Everything is very bland. It's apparently not a happy place. But anyway, so, a little bit of food for thought. We're going to get back into the shadow people. Because I look at them. I mean, we know that they exist. So are they under the same rules? Do they play by the same, principles? I mean, I don't know. I mean, are they really the observers? Could it be? I don't know. I like what someone wrote and said, well, the first chapter of Genesis is that's where the angels came from. Well, that would imply that they're male and female angels. Well, it does say that the angels are hermaphrodites. So, I mean, when Lot was in Gomorrah, all the people wanted to do was have sex with him. That's certainly not Michael, John Travolta. But then again, I don't know. They say that how many of you remember the movie Michael? Actually, was there in the they filmed one part of that in Texas. Remember, wherever he went, the women smelt something sweet. Some smelt chocolate chip cookies. Some smelt, pie or whatever. It was an intoxicating smell. I think that happens. I really do. You ladies would know that better than I, but I happen to know that guys could emit a certain pheromone and you'd get laid. I mean, I learned that early in life, but I digress. What's up, Bonnie? I have had serious questions. What was the unspoken mistake King Odd speaks of? It's another good one. I mean, we covered that, didn't we? Reading the book. I don't know. There's this whole thing, people look at us when you start talking about the giants, to them, it's just a mystical fairy tale. But they were here. I think they still may be here. I don't know. I know that was a different time. The earth was much different than it is today. People always refer to the book of Enoch, as being this really authentic book. Well, but they don't want to believe what Enoch described as the Nephilim. 4,500 feet tall. Yeah. That's almost a mile high. I bet they ran out of food. Well, I don't know. Are the giants the uncircumcised ones? there's another thing. So God is supposedly, I was led to believe, perfect being, all knowing. He certainly fucked up the old human race. I mean, think about it. It means that Adam was uncircumcised for how many thousands of years? And then along comes Abraham. And this cat now says, no, you got to have my mark in you, and you need to mutilate your sex organ. That's what circumcision is. It's mutilation of the male genitals. And then you get that story of Moses and his wife, and Jehovah's ready to kick his ass. Yahweh going to murder Moses. Moses screwed him, or so he says. So Miriam, and I'm trying to think if that was Moses' wife. I think it was. I could be wrong, but anyway, she mutilates his sex organ, his penis, cuts the foreskin off, and then throws it to Yahweh, God, the God of Jesus, and he consumes it. I don't care what you say. I don't care. That's just some weird shit, man. I mean, if this thing, that's what it digs, I ain't into that shit. I just got to tell you, I'm not into it at all. I'm going to pick up my marbles and I'm going to leave it, I think it was Abraham, Aaron. That was Sarai. She was called Sarah after Abraham, But yeah, he pimped out his wife, who was really his sister. But, the human race, we're an incestuous group. I don't care how you look at it. Incest is it's part of who we are. Our species could not have propagated, could not have continued if there was not incest. Just saying. Or did they have a thing, for just the families? I don't know. It's, because you got the whole people of the plains and Cain going out there, but Cain wasn't of Adam's bloodline. So then what the hell's going on here? And you want to know why our DNA is screwed up, right? Ay, ay, ay. And, I love the book, The Apocalypse of Adam and Eve. Yeah. So if you read in the Nag Hammadi, it's in there. So it was Satan who taught Adam how to get it on with Eve. As the story goes, Satan's coming along and says, hey, dude, you got she's hot, man. And Adam, he says, why would I have sex with myself? I mean, obviously, you contemplated the thought. But it was Satan who said, well, this is how you do it, which then implies that the angels been getting it on for a long time. Now, the question is, do they fuck themselves or do they fuck each other? I don't know how that works. And then can they get pregnant? Because apparently they do have semen. It says it got women pregnant. So what is there this whole other realm of where the angels are like getting it on, and are they giving birth or do they hatch? I mean, it goes down a rabbit hole real quick. Oh, yes. Hey, Pearl Jones, how you doing, darling? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. Yeah, I know it's, vulgar language, but it's expressive. But there we go. I'm just saying for a friend. That's all I got to say. What fun I had today. I hope you did too. F. Kitty says Abe was a leader of a tribe. His tribe followed him. Yeah, the slaves had to. Yeah, I always like what the head slave told Abraham when Abraham came back down, off the mountain and, said, well, we got this God going to promise us all this land, going to take care of us, going to make us rich. And, they were like, oh, far out, But Abraham said, but there's this one condition. Yeah. That was the first slave upvolt. You want to do what to my what? Okay. Thank you, Robert V. Well, it is a fun show. I mean, you got to admit, this stuff is, got to take it like, a smorgasbord, small pieces, I mean, it's like, you may have this great piece of whatever, lasagna, good stuff. Then you get gefilte fish, not such good stuff. Okay. Mary Wins, much love to you, darling. Susie Q, right back at you. All right, folks. Thank you for this was fun. This was a fun little adventure today. Pick up tomorrow with the shadow people, and Friday I won't be here. So anyway, got to do what I got to do, right? Lost in Space, right back at you, brother. Why are Jewish men circumcised? Jewish women prefer 10%. Who wrote that? Graham, I love it, man. You see, you can always judge or gauge a person's intelligence by the depth of their sense of humor. It is so true. All right, everybody, until we meet again, thank you. You're beautiful. And hey, pass it around to everybody, all the social media. Get over there and let's make this happen. If you know of a channel, tell them, come on. Participate. You don't have to do the whole podcast. Just maybe do the entrance. Give mention. World Peace and Unity Podcast Day. We can make this happen, folks. We can make this happen. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit of Chicago as I buzz on out. Thank you, everyone.